Hello and welcome back to the NRG here 5K trial for Pioneer. I am Mason Clark. I'm with my co-host here, Devin O'Donnell. Devin, how you doing?
I am doing very well, Mason. I'm excited to cover some Pioneer today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of notable players in the event that are, we want to take a look at the leaderboard in a second, but there's a lot of people here that are vying for those spots that we were talking about at the end of year championship. So really excited to see what people brought to the table here, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see those decks. And also, like we mentioned yesterday, this is the last event for big Pioneer paper before the release of Brothers War in the RC in Atlanta. And seeing what players are looking at, what they're wanting to test out, kind of get a feel in paper. Magic Online is a great way to test, but getting that tournament experience is something that's really hard to simulate. So we're going to see some players maybe playing decks that they're fielding and thinking about for the Brothers War, maybe just adding a card or two.
Right. Yeah. There's, like you said, this is the last event before Brothers War. It's always kind of weird that very last event before a new set comes out because I feel like a lot of people are maybe taking it safe with maybe just the quote unquote best deck, which there's a lot of, spoiler alert, there's a lot of mono green here today, so not surprising. But yeah, they're maybe want to keep some stuff under wraps for Atlanta as well, stuff that people are working on. Maybe they don't want to quite give it away. And also, I think Brothers War is going to be introducing, yes, there's a lot of tools for mono green, but I think there's also a lot of players for new archetypes or, previously existing archetypes and a nice little bump. So yeah, really excited to see what people show up with Atlanta. I think that's going to be a really good tournament.
It's going to be so exciting. I can't wait to watch it and play it. Devin, speaking of archetype bumps here, while we're waiting for our first matchup here to start, is there any card that really jumps out to you from the Brothers War you want to talk about for Pioneer? I know we went over a few yesterday.
It looks like we're actually ready to start. So let's hold that thought. Let's take a look and see what we got for you today.
One second here.
All right, so it looks like we are down here. It looks like we have a mono green mirror match. We got Vinnie Fino on the left versus Mack Endress on the right. Looks like we're having maybe some issues with the feed here, but yeah, this is. I know you had mentioned this during the break here. We had talked about this Mack Endress, somebody who is very high up on that leaderboard, vying for that end of year championship spot. So maybe no surprise if they, that they're showing up with mono green because they, want to do very well in the tournament. So yeah, this is like we talked about, this is going to be a matchup that we see a decent amount today because I think I remember by my math, I think I ran the numbers really quickly. I believe there were about 20 players out of our close to 100 players in the event playing mono green. So about 20% of the room here. So this is, something that we are maybe going to be expecting and maybe something we're going to see a little bit throughout the day.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how that, when it comes to the top, are we going to see mono green, even though it has the highest numbers, make the top, or are there going to be decks that can actually stop green that players are brought today? It's going to be pretty exciting to see there. Looks like it's going to be a few more seconds here. I think our camera feed just didn't have its coffee in the morning, Devin, and so it's still waking up a little bit. And you know what that's like.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the Twitch stream, which I know is not necessarily the feed that we're looking at, but that's what I'm looking at right now. But yeah, there's I think maybe some issues with the camera feed, so we'll have to see if we can get that for us. But yeah, it looks like I think Vinny, if I counted correctly, I think Vinny's on a mulligan to 6. Couldn't quite tell how many cards Mac has started with, but
yeah, I can't either. Yeah, it looks like we're just gonna make it work for right now as Vinny leads on an Oath of Nissa.
Yep, turn 1 Oath of Nissa. Didn't quite get to see if Vinny had something like a Nykthos. Take a look.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to pick up Forest. Interesting. This is one of the interesting parts too. This, as we see both players lead on Oath of Nissa here, Mac with the Lair, the Hydra for it though. It's kind of funny, at the RC it will be open deck list, right? And so it'd be, changes things a little bit here. But right now, when you play the mono green deck, you kind of have to sometimes hedge your bets and like, okay, this hand's pretty good. Maybe it's not great in the mirror, but it's got an Oath of Nissa and some ramp. How worse could it be? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, this is a true mirror match, right? Both players starting on Oath of Nissa. We'll have to see if Matt can follow suit here with a Wolfwillow Haven. And yeah, Nykthos and 2 mana. Not a Wolfwillow Haven, not a true mirror match.
That's that spice with the Sylvan Carry added. You do love to see a little bit.
Looks like we got a Kiora here. Probably untap the forest, play an old growth troll.
And I think Vinny does have a Storm the Festival in hand as well. So on the next turn, Vinny's going to have some real payoff. And oh, Vinny's kind of flicking that Boseiju to the front. We might see that Nykthos just go away.
All right, here we go. I believe we have. It looks like my feed is working now. How about
Yes.
yours, Mason?
It's back. It's in full swing. It got its coffee in its system. We love to see it.
There we go. All right, what did we miss? We got, there's the Kiora, and we use the Kiora. What do we do after the Kiora? Boseiju the Nykthos, okay. Which is a good heads-up play from Vinny here. Now it looks like Vinny's got a Cavalier, so set up to play that next turn with the Kiora untap.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen Mack here slam Karn, the Great Creator.
Putting some dice on the Oath of Nissa. Don't think that one's quite, that one doesn't have any loyalty abilities.
Yeah, Mack is also still processing the coffee. We're gonna give him a second. Had a big day yesterday.
Yeah, this is, we've been talking about Brothers War a lot over the weekend so far, and I think this is one of the decks that gets a couple pretty significant upgrades in the form of the Stone Brain, and then there's the new, I forget the name of it. I'm gonna have some trouble with names, but the new Meteor Golem. I think both those cards are pretty big upgrades to this deck.
Yep, I big agree. It's going to be interesting to see just how impactful they are because they seem incredibly impactful. Speaking of incredibly impactful, Vinny here with an old growth troll play draws a card, activates Nykthos, and now has 5 devotion and gets to play 6 devotion with the Wolfwillow Haven, so he gets to play Storm the Festival.
That's what I was missing. I counted 5 as well, but we forgot about the Haven.
Yeah, and so it looks like
Oath and a Cavalier here.
Yeah, it's hard for it to be too bad when you draw a couple cards, but not the most explosive Oath we've ever seen. And, Teferi found off the Oath of Nissa. That is one big difference in these decks, right?
Yeah, so I want to say, if we take a quick look at the deck list here, so Mack has 1 Teferi, and then Vinny has, I believe, 1 Teferi, and also 1 spicy copy here, Nicol Bolas. Is it the God-Pharaoh or Dragon God? Dragon God. That's the I think it's triple black, blue, and red. But we're not actually, we're not trying to tap blue, black, and red mana for that thing. We're just trying to cast it off Oath of Nissa or hit it off Storm the Festival. But one thing that you had mentioned in the break here is a lot of times what happens is you get to these weird spots where there's like a Pithing Needle on either a Kiora or a Karn, and Nicol Bolas gets around that because it has the abilities of the Planeswalkers, but it's not the name of that Planeswalker. So that could actually be a pretty significant edge here for Vinny if he's able to find that Nicol Bolas.
Big agree. Looks like Mack picked up another Cavalier of Thorns as the draw step, and let's see what he can do. Would you argue that Vinny's deck is 5-color mono green? He does have every color in his deck.
Well, I mean, I guess in the same vein, you could argue that Mack is Simic because of the Kioras. I guess every deck is Simic at that point.
They're all Simic. Yeah, it was a philosophical question. That was next in line. We do see Mack.
No, there's a Teferi.
Oh, sure. Okay, banned. But we do see Mack pick up the Damping Sphere here. Probably to control the Nykthos.
Yeah, it looks like the Damping Sphere is going to take care of the Nykthos for the time being. And there's always these weird spots in the mirror match where you kind of get to both players can't do a ton. There's Karn shutting down activated abilities of artifacts, the Damping Sphere shutting down Nykthos, Needle shutting down Kiora sometimes. So you get to these weird board states where it's just who has more creatures. And Vinny's got more creatures right now, so I guess he would maybe advantage in that fight currently at least.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And speaking of those creatures, it looks like Vinny might be going in for the red zone a little. Yeah, attacking all at Karn. Oh, and apparently some at the face.
Yeah, the Karn. If you just looks like maybe sent the troll and the elf at the Karn, and the Cavalier got to go at face because you knew the Karn was dying anyways with the troll having trample. So that does make a lot of sense here. Now we'll have to see. So you have enough to just cast the Storm without Nykthos. 2, 4. So you only have 8 mana. So not quite enough there. Looks like maybe we're going towards a Karn. Oh, Teferi. Okay.
Okay. That Teferi is kind of helpful. It gives you a little bit mana back too by untapping the elf. Worth noting, Wolfwillow Haven is an ability that generates mana. It's not the land generating mana, so it does get around Damping Sphere. It's kind of a weird interaction there.
Do we have enough to cast this Cav? So we went 4 mana for Teferi. We untapped the Haven and the Elf. That's 3 because the Cav costs 6, right?
I
1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I was off counting. I think I was miscounting by 1.
Yeah, I think that the Kiora activation put us just over the line. Okay, well, this Lovestruck Beast definitely can't be played. We probably
Yeah,
want to
that
stop the match.
one. Yeah, can
Yeah.
maybe we should pause that here because the Damping Sphere is taxing all of Vinny's spells by 1 for each spell they played. So yeah, maybe we can get a judge to pause this match here.
Yeah, and catch that. Yeah, I do believe Vinny had enough to play the Cav and but unfortunately not enough to play Lovestruck Beast. And
Yeah.
it is still a weird part of Damping Sphere. You know, everyone kind of plays it for the mana ability. But it was also kind of a Storm hate card originally, you know?
Right.
Remember Storm?
Wait, you mean Storm the Festival, right? That's the one you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Storm I'm talking about. And yeah, and it looks like there's a judge talking with the players right now, just making sure everything here, and we'll get this figured out.
Yeah, we'll probably have to do a little bit of a rewind here because I don't believe that Lovestruck Beast could have been cast.
Mhm.
Like you said, I do believe there was just enough for the Cavalier, but definitely enough for the Lovestruck Beast. So maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, we're gonna come on back here to the booth and have a little chit chat with y'all while we have the judge fix that down there. And we'll tell you what happens after it's done. But yeah, mono green, Devin. It feels like this is the boogeyman of the format.
Oh yeah, definitely is, and it's maybe even going to be a bit more of a boogeyman with some cards from the Brothers War that maybe we can put a little bit of on screen. So the one that I was talking about looks like chat got the name for me. It's Cityscape Leveler. I think that we had talked about the Stonebrain yesterday on stream, so let's see if we can get the Cityscape Leveler pulled up for you. But this is a card that I think a lot of the Karn sideboards are playing a copy of Meteor Golem. And while this is 1 additional mana, I do think it is significantly better. The body's obviously a lot better, being an 8/8 trample, just an absolute massive. And also, it's a cast trigger, not when it enters the battlefield, and it continuously does it. So I think this is one of those big upgrades for Mono Green.
I have to agree. Just also having an 8/8 like copy of Meteor Golem, like even if you don't get to attack with it and the board's kind of weirdly stalled where you can't, having an 8/8 body matters so much. And I feel like everyone, including myself, always forgets about the unearth too. Where it's just like, oh yeah, even if I kill it, it's gonna come back. And since it triggers on attack as well, that's pretty strong.
Right. Yeah. At least you don't get, I think they worded it on the cast trigger because if you were able to unearth, get a permanent, and then attack, get a permanent, that would be a little messed up. So I think that was intentional that they actually did it on cast trigger, which is funny because it makes the first copy a little bit better. That even if they counter it, you still get the ability. But yeah, this one is definitely going to be a house because you get a copy of Meteor Golem and your opponent has one of those pesky permanents, like maybe you want to kill a Karn or a Sky Sovereign. But the fact that it's also just, probably the biggest thing in your entire sideboard, that even if you're not blowing up a permanent, just getting an 8/8 trample against a deck like Rakdos that doesn't have a lot of exile based removal is something that you might want access to. So
100%. Yeah, we actually saw in this game, right? Mac first thing he went and grabbed was Meteor Golem. If it was this card, this battlefield would be way more under control. We'd have an 8/8, right? Like in of itself, that's such a huge difference. So I have to agree. I think this is one of the best gets for the mono green deck out of the new set. Have you seen Bushwaggle? Have you seen the devotion talk about this? Or Bushwhack maybe is the card name? Bushwhack?
oh, Bushwhack, is that the one that's 1 mana, prey upon, or lay of the land?
Yes. Yeah. I've seen some people talk about maybe playing this as like some of your land slot, and then also having fight spells to kill some of the aggro deck. So kind of an interesting pickup. What do you think about it? Oh, we're gonna go back to the game. I'm gonna hold you on that. You think about that when we're done playing this match. We'll talk about it some more. Looks like we did rewind the game back to where the Cavalier would have been played, and now our hands back to being Lovestruck Beast and Old Growth Troll.
Yeah, so Cavalier entered the battlefield And all
Oh
right,
yeah,
cool.
Perfect. Yeah, we take the Kiora back up because they got minus to play Lovestruck Beast originally, so all fixed there. And looks like Mack is gonna deploy a Cavalier of Thorns.
And already has a Nykthos in play. I guess maybe you just take the second layer. Why not? You're not doing anything else with the other mana, so take a look here. Maybe looking towards getting. Oh, okay. Pointing out, I guess there was infinite question mark.
No, Vinny had it the old way, just lethal.
Oh,
He
just
had,
attacking. All
yeah,
right.
14 power because Teferi taps down the Cavalier and then activate Lair of the Hydra with not devotion with enough mana that it's just game. Yeah, let's throw up one of these deck lists here and kind of look at what these players, because while normally there aren't a bunch of sideboard options, a lot of wish targets, sometimes you see those cards come in, and sometimes you do see things like Voracious Hydra here. So for Mack here, looks like our sideboard is going to be
We like
two
to
Sky
call this.
Sovereign, a
Go ahead.
Damping Sphere, a Darksteel Citadel, a Esika's Chariot, God-Pharaoh Statue, Heart of Kiran, Meteor Golem, Pestilent Cauldron, Pithing Needle, Ratchet Bomb, Reckoner Bankbuster, Chainveil, Tormont, and Transmogrifying Wand. Anything jump out to you? I guess there's two Sky Sovereigns.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you want the second Sky Sovereign in the main deck, especially if you expect, like, if your opponent has Karn before you do and they needle your Karn, then maybe you want to have access to the Sky Sovereign in the main deck. There's also an argument to, maybe you want the second in the sideboard in case the first one gets Boseiju'd. It's kind of close either way. I would probably say you can get away with cutting. How many Lovestruck Beasts? So this one. I thought okay, this one doesn't have the Lovestruck Beast. You can probably get away with cutting something, maybe the Carry did, for that second Sky Sovereign. But yeah, for the most part, we like to call this no changes.
Yeah, and I think looking at the other player, we didn't get to show it on screen, but basically the exact same situation: an extra Skyboat and then a bunch of one of. So I imagine both players just put the other Skyboat in, like Devin mentioned, and now we get back to the magic. Best part about mono green: not a lot of time between games. You get to shuffle on up.
No sideboarding. You don't even have to think about that stuff.
It's great. And speaking of great, Mack has the best start here with the Llanowar Elf, and Vinny, not to be outdone, does the same.
I have a very important question to ask. Whose Llanowar Elf is better?
I think Max.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know which set Max is from, but I think Vinny's is revised.
I do think Vinny's is revised as well. I don't know what Max is. The the booth people are saying it's 4th edition, and NRG would know their stuff. Looks like we have an Elvish Mystic here into an Old Growth Troll, so Mac pulling a little bit ahead on mana.
Yeah, Mac was on the play this game, so gets to deploy a little bit more mana faster. We'll have to see if Vinny can kind of. What Vinny's looking for is a Nykthos. There's a lot of like interest, maybe not interesting, but there's a lot of like choke points in this matchup where like, does one player have a Nykthos and the other player doesn't? Does one player have, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So maybe if Vinny is definitely behind in terms of mana development, but a Nykthos can kind of undo that pretty quickly, especially if there's like another Old Growth Troll or something along those lines.
Yeah, we are going to see Vinny play Karn Creator and pick up Treasure Vault. And pass it on over to Mac.
Yeah, getting a Treasure Vault signifies no Nykthos, because if you had Nykthos as your land rolled up, you probably wouldn't get a land with Karn. So this signifies a lot of weakness from Vinny's side. There's no Nykthos, you're getting a land with Karn, and your opponents get Resolving Storm the Festival, so we might see a fairly quick game here.
Yeah, Mac just kind of checking out what we have here. Looks like we have not the greatest storm in the world. If you had the Stone Cold, you just kind of slam it, but I do think there's a Nykthos in the pile.
I saw Nykthos Kiora.
Oh,
we're going for
okay.
Kiora Karn instead. Interesting.
Oh, maybe it just was the Stone. You just had all the options you had to think about there. But yeah, now we have our own Karn, our own Kiora here, and that's pretty big. We can see Mac kill Vinny's Karn if he wants to. Is that something that you'd be interested in doing?
Yeah, you definitely want to get the card out of here, especially, that Vinny searched for the treasure vault. So if you don't kill the card, you know that the Karn's probably going to get the boat, which threatens your Karn, if you down ticket. So yeah, definitely want to go after the Karn here.
Yep. And we see Mac tick up and grab something from his sideboard. Worth noting too, Vinny has Skyboat in hand, so it's probably going to answer the Karn. But if Mack had some sicko Soul Read, Mack could have ticked up the Karn to destroy the Treasure Vault. Also, the Treasure Vault just won't make mana, so Vinny is going to have to draw a land off the top.
Right. You know, you're in a really good spot here if you're Max side, because you know that if Vinny had a land in his hand, he wouldn't have gotten the Treasure Vault. So you know that even if there's a 5-drop like a Skysovereign or a Cavalier, you know that Vinny also has to draw a land to be able to cast that. So yeah, you gotta fist in the air for Mac here.
By the way, saw Mack's sideboard still has 2 boats over there, so didn't sideboard it in. Maybe that's just more for like Rakdos type stuff. And we see a great play here from Mack. Blocks the Old Growth Troll with his own Old Growth Troll, and then pops a Tormod's Crypt so it doesn't go on a land.
Can't tap that Treasure Vault.
Yeah, we're gonna need a judge.
Can we get the judge here?
Yeah,
that Treasure Vault cannot be tapped for mana. Can we? We gotta get this game stopped here. Probably just a quick rewind, but
yeah, should not be that big of an issue to fix. A really easy thing to miss too, right? Like,
right.
Especially in Pioneer, we just don't have that much land destruction. Yeah, looks like we're just gonna rewind here. Luckily for us, the mono green deck, doesn't have a lot of instants and max tapped out, so it's pretty easy to continue the game state from here.
Right. Yeah, it's not like Mac has any responses to Vinny's other plays. So
yeah, no Nissa's defeats in the sideboard for these players.
That's the new tech for the mirror match? I mean, Nissa's defeat would look really good here for Vinny. You blow up that land with 2 Havens and a troll on it. My
yeah,
God.
Nissa's defeat's kind of hot. That's all I'll say. Yeah, destroy target forest, green enchantment, or green planeswalker. So you can blow up the Kiora in the mirror. You can hit the land like we just talked about. And if your opponent does have the Nissa who shakes Earth, which is a little out of vogue, you do get the card draw, which would be the ultimate soul crush, right? Like you play your Nissa, you're like, oh, this is my tech for the mirror. I think it's really good, and they go Nissa's defeat.
I mean, it is literally defeating a Nissa. That's what the card that's on the card text. So,
and we see Mack here grab God-Pharaoh statue. Pretty big one.
What's that? 8 mana. So this would be statue. Oh no, so 7 floating. You got an Oath.
Looks like we found lands in a boat. Oh, there's an elf in there as well.
Okay, not the best Oath of Nissa.
Yep. Looks like Mack does have 7 mana floating with 1 up from the land and 2 are there. So has a couple of plays available to him. Looks like he's just going to start things off with an Old Growth Troll, get that card draw.
We're looking for a Nykthos here. Matt kind of has everything. I think I saw a Karn and another Karn in hand. There's the statue. So Matt kind of has basically everything he could ever want, with the exception of the Nykthos. It's kind of the only missing piece at this point, but I'm not even really sure he needs it, especially with the second Karn and Kiora being able to generate effectively +4 mana with the land having 3 enchantments on it. So,
And we're gonna get passed back over here to Vinny, who is kind of, I was gonna say, it doesn't have lands and everything costs 2 more. It's gonna be a hard one to get out of. And we're going into game 3. Yeah, let's pull up the other player. So basically, actually the same sideboard that we talked about a second ago. Verbatim, I actually don't think there are any differences in the 2 sideboards, which is kind of funny. And it's going to be interesting. Devin, do you think Vinny is going to bring in the boat? We saw Mack didn't.
I wonder if it's maybe like a play draw thing, or maybe you are just worried about the presence of Boseiju specifically. I feel like it's good because the thing that I really like about it is you can, if your opponent just goes Karn minus, and just having the boat in hand allows you to save a lot of mana. Like it's a more mana efficient play, obviously, to just play the boat than have to Karn for it. So I kind of like the upside of having the second one in there more so than it, potentially being good if your opponent draws a Boseiju. But yeah, there's the spice that we talked about during game 1 there, the Nicol Bolas Dragon God. We'll have to see if that one plays a role here.
Yeah, and let's head on back down to the feature match. Looks like the players are drawing their opening hands here, and I'm going to guess for the amount of time that we took, there was no real sideboarding happening, but I could be wrong.
The one thing that I want to see. So we saw Vinny search for that what's it called, Treasure Vault that game, and I saw, we picked up the cards and just kind of shuffled them in. Wonder if he put it back in the sideboard or not. I've seen this on Twitter. I forgot who it was, but somebody had posted that they forgot to board out the God-Pharaoh statue and just naturally drew it and cast it on turn 3 and just still won the game very easily.
Yeah, if you play the God-Pharaoh statue on turn 3, I don't even know, even if you're on the draw, it's going to be really hard for your opponent to ever get out from underneath that. And looks like Vinny did keep 7, and Mack is tanking on the 6. Looks like he has a couple lands and an elf, but I don't know if he has any payoffs.
Yeah, for Vinny here. Vinny's got a lot of mana. I think there's a Storm the Festival on Vinny's side, and for Mack, looks like Teferi, Karn. Looks like a lot of payoff, maybe not quite as much mana. So Vinny kind of has, it feels like Vinny kind of has everything here. I believe there was a Storm. Yeah, 2 storms actually. So looks like Haven, Elf, couple lands, couple storms. So yeah, Vinny's hand is kind of rolled up, and Mack I think is kind of tanking on this mulligan. Maybe he doesn't have nearly as much of that fast mana.
Yeah, I have to agree. Also, Vinny's deck is the one that has both Teferi and Nicol Bolas, so it has much stronger Storm the Festival hits than Mack on average. Do you see it just a Lair into an elf, into a Wolfwillow Haven, into another Wolfwillow Haven?
Well, this is, it's going to be a fast. That's the one thing about mono green mirrors is a lot of the time they're pretty fast. So maybe they might not be the most interesting to watch, but they do go by pretty quickly. So.
Ooh, Max's attack for 1. By all accounts, I think Max winning. Live total says so.
That is very true. Scoreboard.
Vinny's like, cool scoreboard. I'm going to cast Storm the Festival and hit at least Karn and Kiora.
Oh my god.
Well,
I think we're done.
That's pretty good. I would be impressed to see what Mack is going to do to make this look closer. Are we going to still have all these and deploy our elf too?
Have you thought about Mack untapping, playing a land, and attacking again with the Elvish Mystic? What do you do if that happens?
If I'm Mack, I go get some breakfast. I pick up my cards and maybe get a McGriddle. Think about my life choices. As we do see the God-Pharaoh statue get picked up, and next turn it's going to come down. And we saw this happen on the other side when Vinny was kind of light on lands, but Mack's just naturally not as developed as Vinny, and so it's going to have a hard time playing through that statue.
Yeah, this matchup is, as chat points out, very, very play draw dependent. Whoever is on the play and able to kind of get underneath the other player. It's just this deck doesn't play catch up that well. It has a lot of permanents that are able to get ahead, but it does not really play well from behind at all. So that's not what it's designed to do. So in that, when you're kind of 2 ships passing in the night thing, when you both have a bunch of mana acceleration, yeah, it's just it really comes down to play draw a lot of the time.
Yeah. Maybe if Mack has Boseiju, he can start to work his way out of this, but he's still behind the 8 ball pretty heavily.
Yeah, basically Boseiju is a requirement to even be competing, right? You have to be able to Boseiju the Skysovereign or the statue.
Mack has Boseiju in hand. He just flicked it to the front.
Okay.
So
step 1.
Yeah, I mean, Vinny will have more mana, but hey, whatever. Vinny has 1 million mana, I think. That's the technical count.
I guess there's also a chance that Vinny could just kill Mack this turn too, right? I think there was another storm in hand.
That is true. Yeah, if we find a Nykthos, we might be able to actually do that. Looks like we are going to deploy this Old Growth Troll and take a draw step here. Pick up another Karn, the Great Creator. And looks like we're just going to play that God-Pharaoh statue, which looks like it's going to be strong, but Mack does have the Boseiju lined up and the mana to use it.
If you're Vinny here, do you kind of assume, maybe not assume, but do you at least is Boseiju in the back of your mind? Are you thinking about that? And maybe instead of playing the storm, would you prefer to play instead of playing the statue, would you prefer to play the storm here?
I think that what I would have done is grabbed Pithing Needle and Pithing Needle Boseiju and played it instead of playing the Old Growth Troll. But I do think that if you're worried about Boseiju, then I would probably just storm and try and win. But I also think Mack is playing, Vinny doesn't know this, but Mack, I believe, has 1 Boseiju in the deck this weekend. Yeah. And Plowsfailure have most of 2. And so I think there's something to be said about, whatever. my opponent's so far behind, I'm just going to try and slam. But, you know, there's definitely some merit to it. If you storm and you hit Nykthos, you probably were really close to winning, if not just, once again, just putting the statue into play anyways.
Yeah, and it's like even if you do get Boseiju, what are the odds that Mack can kill you? Basically zero. And even with this Storm the Festival, I don't think there's really any way for Mack to keep going here. The best case scenario is like, I guess, Kiora plus land, but that doesn't even get you an untap. You can't activate the Nykthos. So yeah, I don't think there's really a way. I guess Kiora Cav maybe? No, that still doesn't do it though.
Yeah, maybe it was Cav boat so that you can have some pressure. I'm not sure. It's interesting. Well, we are going to see Cavalier and Elf be the hits here. Cavalier hits a Lair of the Hydra, so no whiff there. And Mack does have his own Karn for the next turn. Luckily for Mack, this Karn, the Good Creator, can only tick up this turn. So, not a chance there. But unfortunately for Mack, Vinny is holding another Karn if that's what he wants to go for.
Yeah, I think Vinny's hand right now is Karn, Skysovereign, and another Storm the Festival. So just an embarrassment of riches. And does have enough mana. He's probably going to start with Storm here to try and hit the Nykthos, I would assume. Yeah, looks
Yeah,
like he's going to go for Storm.
actually, Vinny has infinite life if he hits Teferi. Because the Wolfwillow Haven has so many on the one land that you can untap that and the Elf for 4 to activate Chain Veil over and over. Looks like we just hit 2 lands, but if you're going to hit 2, Nykthos is a good one to be the second one.
Yeah, we have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
9.
7, 8, 9 devotion. So that should be enough to at least Storm again.
Yeah, I have to imagine we're going to Storm again. Yeah, it looks like we are trying to tap that 10th land if it wasn't so stuck. And let's run it back, see what we hit here. And it looks like we hit Karn and a bunch of lands.
Okay, that one was pretty underwhelming for Vinny. That's actually maybe a way out for Mack here. It's just Vinny kind of quote unquote breaking on the storms. Because there's no way to untap the Nykthos. Vinny does have the 2 elves and the Lair untapped, but with no additional Nykthos, no way to untap it because we've already used the Kiora. Maybe doesn't have an avenue towards casting another Storm the Festival, and that might give Mack the window he needs because Mack kind of, has everything that he needs because there's a Storm in the graveyard, there's a Cav and a Nykthos in play. I guess if you're Vinny, maybe do you think about getting Damping Sphere here?
Maybe. I'm not quite sure. It looks like he thumbed Karn Sylex near the front. I'm really curious to see what his plan of attack here is, because like you mentioned, there's so many different things you can go for. Looks like we're going to get Esika's Cherry and just try and put some pressure on the board. Cats.
Lots and lots of cats.
Yes. I know you're not a big Arena gamer, but did you see how they nerfed this card in Arena? They cut a cat to make it more fair, and then they removed a cat from the art when they did that, because there are currently 2 cats. And
oh no! Wait, so they changed
the
the
erasure the cat.
Oh no! I have not seen that. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's brutal.
Poor cats.
Yeah. Our cats are a little wolfy today. They're feral cats. And Mack, very quickly, you're tapping 6 mana to Storm the Festivals. Mack knows, like you mentioned, this is the window. That's a Nykthos and a Kiora?
Oh, Mack getting severely punished for not activating that Nykthos first, not even floating for mana. Because if you haven't floated the Nykthos for mana, if you take the second Nykthos, you can't float the other one. So, took maybe a bit of a calculated risk or something that he was just hoping he would get any land to be able to activate the Nykthos with the Elf untapped, but unfortunately hits the only land that doesn't allow him to do that with that second Nykthos.
Yeah, it looks like he's in kind of a rough spot. Maybe he'll take Cavalier to try and hit a land to activate the Nykthos. Looks like he's just going to take Karn Kiora.
Okay. That's probably good enough.
Yeah, it for sure at least makes you not in such a terrible spot. And maybe Mack has a land in hand to activate this Nykthos. If not, we could use Kiora to untap a land, Not the greatest use of Kiora with the Nykthos in play, but not the worst. And it does look like Mack was holding a forest.
This is 8 devotion, a Karn, a Kiora, and a Nykthos. Are we done? So that's 8.
So if we have 8...
We haven't used the Kiora yet.
Yeah, so if you're at home and you're kind of wondering... The combos are really complicated, and if they make us play it out, I will go over. But basically, the long story short is, if your opponent has 8 devotion and a Karn and Kiora in play, and has another copy of Karn and Kiora in the graveyard or some other zone, that is lethal. Now, I don't know if Mack has another Karn and Kiora somewhere. to actually loop with Pestilent Cauldron. I believe you need a 10 devotion if you don't have 2 copies of each in order to win. But we might see Mack kind of freestyle and try and build up to that devotion and get ahead there. So we are going to see an activation of, a flashback of Storm of the Festivals. Looks like maybe not. Maybe we were taking a different line. We're going to minus our Karn first. Okay. And this Karn. Oh, you go.
Go ahead.
Karn shuts off Esika's Chariot. Kind of awkward. That's all I was going to say.
So the Karn shutting off Chariot, that's the fixed version, right? It only makes 1 cat.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for Mack here, just wants to make sure that he minuses the Karn before casting the Storm, just in case you hit a second Karn off of it. So wants to kind of maximize the value. I would assume this is. So I guess it's tough here. You're thinking about like, well, if I get Chain Veil and don't hit enough to combo off, is that kind of a disaster? But so yeah, he's actually going to go for the boat here, which is kind of it's kind of like a hedging your bets a little bit, where it's like you get the boat and then worst case scenario you storm the festival for somehow don't hit enough to kill him, that you could just play the boat and kill the card on the other side of the battlefield. So kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I also realized we don't have enough for the combo because we don't have the 2 things. Also, my coffee hasn't kicked in. I forgot Vinny still had that Karn. I remember the legend rule of a Karn dying and thought Karn was just dead. So we can't Chain Veil anyways, which I'm sure Twitch chat is just informing us in droves right now. But we do have a Skyboat. So now Karn's gone, which means we could combo if we have the necessary pieces. But if not, we're kind of in a commanding position.
No mana left over for Mack here, I believe. So, but yeah, now Vinny's kind of in the same spot where Vinny cannot combo through Chain Veil through the Karn, but Vinny does have another Karn and a boat in hand. So kind of has all the tools, because you can go Karn, get a Sky Sovereign kill the opposing Karn, or excuse me, Sky Sovereign kill the Karn, then Karn get Chain Veil. But I don't think Vinny has neither enough devotion or enough mana to do all of that. So we'll have to see how Vinny decides to play this turn. My guess is maybe you probably start with the boat to kill the Karn, because that's priority number 1. And then, but where do you go from there, though?
I'm not sure. Maybe you just like get Meteor Golem and blow up the Kiora and try and set Mack back on comboing, and you just run back. It looks like Vinny wants to start with a Storm the Festival first, actually. Maybe try and find. Maybe Vinny did board in the boat, or Nicol Bolas Dragon God would be really good here. That would kill Karn straight up as well.
That's a Teferi.
Yeah, Teferi and a second Kiora. So we're gonna get another activation Nykthos this way. Pretty big. And by the way, what a back and forth game that looked to not be the case at all when we were talking about this game on turn 3. This has been a wild one.
Is that for that first Kiora should be gone, right? Because I'm assuming we're keeping the new Kiora.
I assume so too. I imagine this is just an oopsie poopsie. The players kind of know in their heads, but haven't actually done the physical task. As long as we don't count it for Nykthos devotion,
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Because it looks like we're activating Nykthos now, so I just want to make sure we're not counting that second Kiora.
We did count the Kiora.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there we go.
We figured it out, though. There we go.
Nice. Worth noting, Vinny does now have the 2 Karns and the 2 Kioras for when we get to the point of looping. That is now a thing available to us.
And that's only 8 devotion, which I believe Vinny does have. We still have to answer that Karn, though. That's the problem. That's the thing. That's kind of the thing that's keeping Vinny from, I think, being able to combo this turn. Assuming there's enough mana, it's just do you have enough to play the boat, kill the Karn, then also play the Karn, get the Veil, activate the Veil. I don't know that there's enough, but Vinny's moving kind of fast here, so there might be.
Yeah, we don't have. It looks like Mack's picking up.
Well,
so maybe
there was.
Yeah, I guess so. I was gonna say Vinny could also just attack the Karn, I guess, but this works too, and we're going to have Vinny come on here and talk to us here in a second. But yeah, well played from both players. Mack really made that into a game. One that we were kind of like, not checked out of, but kind of like, oh, well, I mean, how could you ever make this game even? And Mack found a way to get pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, Vinny, we saw Vinny start there. It was turn 1 Elf, turn 2 Haven plus Elf on the play. Mack basically had none of that stuff, was able to kind of, bait, or Vinny decided to go for that statue, which Mack had the answer for in the Boseiju, able to set up a storm, and I think Mack was pretty close to being able to combo that turn. Maybe needed to find an answer for the Karn, like a boat off of one of the Storm the Festivals. But yeah, that's kind of the nature of the mono green mirror. It's just whoever's in the play, whoever has a more faster mana draw start and able to develop the mana, usually gets the job done. So.
Yep, 100%. And we saw it really well navigated from Vinny there, kind of making sure to sort of, hey, I'm going to jam my advantage. And, I have this advantage. So I don't need to play as conservatively as maybe Mac has to while being on the draw, like you talked about, right? Like I kind of get to set the tone, and really good job in evaluating your role. Sometimes it's really easy, right, to slip back into the, oh, don't lose role instead of trying to win role.
Right. Always wants to, you kind of have to think about like how far you are away from comboing, because there's all these different kinds of iterations of how many devotion do I need? What kind of things do I need in the graveyard? You mentioned like there's some lines that involve double Karn, double Kiora. There's some that involves one with the Heart of Kiran, but that requires more devotion. And there's all these things that you have to be thinking about, especially while you're sequencing and trying to figure out like what line gives you the best option, or the best chance to try and kill that turn. But also when you're casting or Storm the Festivals, you have to think about, well, if I take a Cav, what if Cav hits this? What if I mill this? There's just a lot of things that you have to think about when you're going through the motions there. So
100%, yeah. And we're sitting up to have Vinny. We're going to him in just 1 second. But yeah, that was a really cool round one, and one of the more exciting mono green mirrors I've seen, because there was that back and forth. And it started to get a little scrappy there, before Vinny kind of really pulled ahead.
Right. Yeah. The Boseiju on the card that I'm forgetting. I haven't had my coffee
God-Pharaoh
yet. The
statue?
Boseiju on the statue. That turn was, very, very big for Mac, but wasn't quite enough to get the job done. Needed a little bit more help off the Storm the Festivals.
Yep. And let's see if we can throw it on down to Vinny. Yeah, let's talk to Vinny. Let's see how the champ's doing. Round one. Hey, Vinny, congratulations on winning round one. I'm doing great.
Good.
How's your experience going for the energy so far? Yeah, totally.
I think chat's saying there's no audio.
Oh, looks like. All right, Vinny. They can't hear you. I can hear you. You're so funny.
I can hear you.
Wow, what great jokes you have, and so smart. We're gonna hop back here. We're gonna get back to Vinny in a second. Wow, y'all missed some insightful stuff. Kind of like a religious moment for me. I don't know about you, Devin.
Yeah, we're sorry, I was getting a little bit of Vinny laughing in the background, but that was sometimes it happens. There's some things that happen.
We talked about it yesterday, just like Hannah Montana said, right, Devin? Everybody makes mistakes. So
right, yeah, the classic Hannah Montana. We got to get that plastered on the wall somewhere. Maybe that should be like the new NRG motto. Just everybody makes mistakes.
It happens, it's fine. Yeah, and
don't get mad at me, Norm.
Looks like we're gonna hop back down. Hey, Vinny, first time talking to you.
Yeah, totally. Nothing else happened for sure.
Well, you were telling us about your weekend. You want to tell the viewers again? So you've been having a fun time with the NRG and the team event as well?
Absolutely. The team event was awesome. We lost our went into top 8. I finished the event going 0-7, which was kind of insane for my two teammates to just do so well. It was totally awesome. Delgado and Benji are totally cracked at this game. It is just nuts.
Yeah, we got to see you on camera yesterday. So how was the experience? You said you went 0-7. Maybe not an exaggeration, but did you at least have fun yesterday?
It was great. Norm always puts on these incredibly well polished and just totally well organized events. They're just totally insane. Every single time we come out, just a great time. Everything is so well put together and just totally ready to go. It's nuts.
Awesome. Well, how do you feel after winning round one, and how do you feel about that game?
I feel pretty good. I won the die roll, and we were playing some games last night. We stayed at the same Airbnb, so I was like, cool. I just have to win die rolls all day, and I guess I'll just win.
Well, you're one for one on winning die rolls, and I will
Yeah.
tell you, there's a lot of mono green in the event, so I would recommend practicing the die roll a lot.
Yeah, we had like 5 people on our Airbnb just like jamming at a table last night, and like 4 of the 5 were just mono green mirrors. It was nuts.
Was it fun testing the mono green mirror? Did you
Absolutely
unlock any
not, dude.
secrets?
No, dude, the mirror sucks.
Nice.
I've decided I was gonna play 61. I put Teferi, who slows the sunset, in, and like it won me both the games, so I feel very validated.
Yeah, 61 is the new 60, right? Or 61 is the new 80.
Something like that, yeah.
I love it. I love it. So you mentioned Teferi was the addition there. So are you a big God-Pharaoh Bolas believer too? Because you had that one in your deck as well.
Yeah, I'm playing that too. I think I was like tricked into it by Ellen Bogan, but who knows?
A classic of the NRG series.
yeah, who knows? I don't know yet, but we'll see. I hope it's good.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the 61st card. I thought the Bolas was the 61st card, not the Teferi. You were locked in the Bolas before the Teferi, huh?
Yeah, sadly. I wish I locked in the Teferi before. I would have just not played the Bolas.
Yeah. Vinny, it's just you, me, and 400 of my closest friends. We can just say that was the case, you know?
Oh sure, yeah. Who knows, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When we talk to you later in the winners interview, we'll just spin the narrative. Yeah, Ellen Bogan tricked me into the 61st card.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 100%. That is the new narrative. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Team Ellen Bogan made me do it, right?
Yeah. Hey, did you get to do anything fun, by the way, this weekend while in the city? Did you get any good food or anything last night?
No.
No.
No, we're in the Midwest, dude. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, you can go to Chipotle, which some would say is the best restaurant when all factors are considered.
Yeah, Will Kruger would say that, yes.
that is the NRG player of the year you're talking about there. So
for this year,
that's right. That's true. Well, still time to rattle it up.
Yeah, who knows?
What do you do for a living, by the way, Vinny? Just out of curiosity.
I work at Collector Legion in LA. We are the best store in SoCal, maybe even the world. Who knows?
Nice. Well, good job there promoting it. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. All right.
Is there any shout outs you got for the crowd, Vinny?
Absolutely. Thanks to all my friends. Thanks to everybody who helped me test and play. Thank you so much to Ivan Espinosa, absolute best friend. Eli Loveman for helping me play. Thank you so much to Collector Legion. Go to collectorlegion.com. We're great. Come to Collector Legion in Lawndale, California. That's it.
Awesome. Well, Vinny, we're going to let you go. It's about to start the next round, it sounds like. But good luck in the rest of the rounds, and hopefully we'll see you again here in a couple rounds so we can spin that narrative like we talked about.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much for having me, y'all.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's good to talk to Vinny there. I love the enthusiasm, the excitement. That is what the tournaments are all about. Am I right, Devin?
That was a lot of fun. Vinny is certainly a character. Very, very fun to talk to Vinny, and kind of a regular in my Twitch chat as well. So Vinny's a great guy. Nice.
You love to see that too, and it just reminds me of kind of like it's fun to be here in the booth with you and do this commentary. It's really exciting, but also you do kind of miss those like moments of the Airbnb or whatever, and everyone's jamming the mirror and getting ready for the next day and doing that sort of stuff. It's a really fun experience to come out to tournaments like this.
Well, it's usually a fun experience to jam mirrors. Maybe not with the mono green mirror specifically, but yeah, I agree with you. Just hanging out with friends, and if we can forget the mono green mirror part of things, it's always awesome going to tournaments. And it's with COVID, it's obviously we had a little bit of a setback there with being able to go to live tournaments, but now we're kind of getting back into the swing of things. And I'm super excited to be going to Atlanta in a couple weeks, and
I can't wait. Well, hey, we're going to throw you to a quick break here. It's going to be about 10-ish minutes before the next round starts with everything. So we're going to run some ads, and we'll be right back. So use this time, go get some water, stay hydrated, and we'll see you here very soon.